Hi, everyone. It's Chad and Davi back with a special edition of our podcast covering Brazil's alignment with OECD transfer pricing standards. So, Davi, as of last Thursday, provisional measure no longer provisional. Tell us what happened, how we got here, and tell us what we can expect in the next few months.
Okay, Chad, that's exciting news. I'd like to thank you for all the audience and for your time, Chad, for this recording this special session. And this really is special because it's a long-awaited news for Brazil. The alignment with OECD finally happens. So last week, the provisional measure was signed by President of the Republic of Brazil. Lula has signed the provisional measure, and now it's a law. The number of the law is 14,596 from 2023. This is the law that aligns Brazilian transfer pricing rules with the international standards. Finally, after more than 20 years of these old rules that was a pain for most of the Brazilian taxpayers to comply with the rule, to adapt its transactions, its behavior just for the Brazilian purpose, because Brazil has never fit into the international transfer pricing policy of the multinational groups. So it's exciting news. Brazil is now with the arm's length principle into our rule. We now are following the arm's length principle in full. This is what demands and what guides all the articles into the new law that was promulgated last week. So now forwards, we have this new environment in Brazil. We are excited about that because it opens a lot of doors and give us much more respect into the international economic environment. So everybody now are playing by the same rules. That was a complaint of many countries that was dealing with Brazil in the past. The problem with the double taxation and the non-taxation at all now is almost solved, because with the arm's length principle, at least we will address this question in a more economic way. That is the way that transfer pricing should be looked at. So that's exciting news. Brazilian taxpayers are now supposed to understand the new environment, understand what are the transactions that are now covered by the new transfer pricing rules, and must be educated on that. For 2023, these rules is still optional. So the taxpayers can opt to adopt these new rules in 2023 or the old rule. It's a period of time to adaptation, so the taxpayers in Brazil can take a look on their transactions, understand which are the best scenario for 2023. However, for 2024 forwards, the new rules will be mandatory. So what are our advisory for our clients in Brazil is to start this analysis, start to understand which are the benefits, the challenges to this early adoption now. We only have 3 months until the window to choose the methodology that will be used for 2023. Receita Federal has issued a normative instruction a few weeks ago that regulates this transition period, and the option in the window is on September. So from September 1st until September 30, the taxpayers in Brazil must access the ECAC, that is an electronic communication system with Receita Federal here in Brazil, and inform which are the options that they will adopt for 2023. Our suggestion to our clients, to the audience, is to take a look on the transactions based on the current or on the previous calendar year. In our view, the previous calendar year will be the best option because you do have the full year, and it's not common that your transactions will change a lot from one year to other. So 2022, take a look on your information of 2022, compare the results of the OECD analysis with the old transfer pricing rules in Brazil and understand if you do have any benefit or any necessity to adjust your transactions for 2024. So imagine the case that you do have a huge transfer pricing adjustment on the old transfer pricing rule, but on the OECD, you are in compliance. So the best option for you is to apply the OECD already in 2023. In the other hand, if you don't have any transfer pricing adjustment based on the old transfer pricing rule, but you do have a lot of new transactions that must be documented, for example, intangible transactions, for example, the services that has never been documented, you must pay attention and understand if the OECD is the best option. But at least starting this analysis already in 2023 make you aware of the challenges that you face on 2024 when the rule will be mandatory. So that's the main updates, Chad. I don't know if you have any question, but is the general view of what happens now. We do have the transfer pricing in a law in Brazil. So 2023 is optional, 2024 forwards mandatory, the new OECD environment that is now law for the Brazilian taxpayers.
Davi, thank you for that. And you and I have both been in transfer pricing for quite some time. And, I can think back to 2015, 2016, when the initial OECD BEPS Action 13 came out, mandating local file, master file for OECD-aligned countries. That was a momentous shift in transfer pricing. I can think here in the U.S., U.S. tax reform in 2017, 2018. I think this is right up there with one of the most momentous shifts in the global transfer pricing environment that we've seen in this decade and possibly this century. And Davi, it means that you and I are going to get to work together more, right? So Brazil is going to join the countries that adopt the arm's length standard, almost all of them across the world now, just a few holdouts. Really fascinating news. And Davi, I just want to pick up on a few points that you made there and ask a few questions that I've been hearing from my clients and from more generally industry leaders and tax departments. The first is around, this September 1st to September 30th window. So Davi, are there any logistical or any formula, any procedures that need to be followed in order to declare your intention to adopt or not to adopt OECD transfer pricing for this year? Are there forms that need to be filled out? How does that look for clients?
Yeah, the logistics will be an electronic form that will be made available by Receita Federal on ECAC. That is an electronic communication system that every company has here in Brazil to deal with its obligations with Receita Federal. So it's a portal where you do receive like mails, like formal communications where you need to submit some obligations to Receita Federal. That's the system where the form will be made available for the companies to inform which are the model that they want to follow for 2023. What the companies must do prior to that is to have at least a clear view of which are the best methods, which will bring more benefit for the company in 2023. So the old model that they are used to do, they would have at least a comparison for 2022. They already have those numbers because the deadline for submitting the income tax return here in Brazil is now on July 31st. So by the time of September, they already have submitted the calendar year 2022 obligations. So they know what are the transfer pricing impacts based on the old rule. What we are suggesting to the clients is to having also the perspective of if the OECD rules was already applicable for the 2022 transactions, what would be the results? It would be more benefits or challenges to the company. So that's the idea now. The challenge, we know that we will be the preparation of the documentation, but it's not necessary to prepare a full documentation now. An assessment would be the best option for the companies to understand if they have any benefit to early adoption or not.
Right. And as you very correctly mentioned earlier, I think that's going to be whether you look at 2022 year-end financials or year-to-date 2023 is really going to be dependent on your facts and circumstances, right? Is there any business changes that happened in 2023 that would make it more accurate to look at the transfer pricing model as it stands now rather than a previous year? Obviously, with the fiscal 2022 year-end data, you have the advantage of looking at a full year's worth of data, smoothing out any seasonality, so on and so forth. Davi, the other question I'm hearing a lot is one from taxpayers with fiscal year ends that do not align with the calendar year end. So I hear this from, for example, a Japanese inbound client, right? So they have a March 31st year end for their group, right? So in that case, are the rules applicable as of January 1st, 2024 for that group or as of April 1st, 2024?
That's an amazing question, Chad, but unfortunately, I don't have the answer now. What happens is that Receita Federal is going to issue several normative instructions in the following weeks. And that's one of the points that I have heard from a lot of my clients, because we do have a lot of clients from Japanese industry that the calendar year does not follow the fiscal year. But here in Brazil, just looking for the past, and that could be a north of which way Receita Federal will guide us to the future, it has never been considered. So Brazil is restricted on the calendar year, so January 1st through September 31st. So that's the way that Receita Federal has always looked for the transfer pricing analysis. And another relevant aspect is that this law regulates the income tax in Brazil. And income tax will not change because of transfer pricing. I think that transfer pricing will adapt to the compliance of the income tax. So the income tax is calendar year. I think that's more probably that we will keep the same model on that happens in the old rules. So the cut would be January 1st until December 31st. But we must wait for the normative instructions, and maybe could be some would have some news about that. But it's something that I don't think that will change.
I think that's an important point generally, right? Is, the law is now in place. There is certainty that it's going to apply as of 2024 at some point. We're not quite sure about the fiscal year alignment yet, but there's a lot of points that still lack clarity in terms of how the OECD guidelines will apply in Brazil, any sort of exceptions or carve-outs, right? I think there's still a lot of guidance needed from the revenue service in terms of some of those questions that are outstanding. Davi, we're probably getting ahead of ourselves here, but I'm curious, has there been any discussion in Brazil among the government and the tax authorities about looking further down the road, maybe to even adoption of Pillar 2 standards, right? So we're aligned with OECD. Do you see, going the additional step and maybe aligning with some of the new initiatives that the OECD is suggesting in the transfer pricing landscape?
That was something that was really talking directly with Receita Federal on the one-on-one meetings that taxpayers had with the associations had. Hey, if our transfer pricing rules started in 2023, but does not consider the Pillar 1 and 2 updates, our rule will be born already unupdated. So Receita Federal had a hard time to answer those questions, but we don't know yet how those issues will be, how those new points, the Pillar 1 and 2, will be addressed by Brazilian transfer pricing rules. We know that on the law, there isn't any point of attention, any directly discussions on that. Maybe Receita Federal will issue some normative instructions on that, but it is not clear for the Brazilian taxpayers or for the consultants or for the academy how those new OECD standards will be applicable for the Brazilian purpose. We are in a gray zone here, Chad.
As we are in most of the rest of the world when it comes
Yeah.
to Pillar 1 and Pillar 2 adoption, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Davi, last question for you. So, you and I and our colleagues at BaseFirma have really been, tracking these developments, helping our clients and taxpayers around the world plan for, different scenarios, whether, the measure passed or did not pass. Obviously, we have clarity on that now. So my question is, how are we positioning ourselves to assist clients going forward in these next 3 months when some of these critical decisions need to be made? And then also for fiscal 24 when implementation starts to happen.
Yeah, so this is the most this is the perfect timing to discuss that because uh, some clients was thinking that no, let's wait until the provisional measure become a law, then we will think about. And for those clients, I have a urgent statement. You must do something now. Start taking a look on your information now and count with us to help to guide you on that. BaseFirma is a transfer pricing expert firm in OECD. We are in multiple countries. We have on our DNA international transfer pricing. So that's what we do. Help our clients and guide them to the best scenario, to the best solution. That's what we are informing our clients. Take a look on your domestic information and compare your transactions based on the old transfer pricing rules and with the new OECD environment and have the clear view of which are the best method that you need to choose on September window, on September 1st to September 3rd. Even if you are not applying, not intend at all to apply the new transfer pricing rules for 2023, this kind of analysis will help you for 2024 when the rules will be mandatory. So you will be already aware of what are your needs, what you do need to take a look, to understand, to adjust on your transactions, and maybe you can start adjusting your transactions already in 23 to avoid a problem in 2024. So that is our main message to our clients, to our colleagues, to our audience. You start taking a look on your information now to take the best decision on September. Even if you are not applying, not intended to apply the new guide, the new rules in 2023, you'll be already aware of what you must correct, must address for 2024 when the rules will be mandatory. That's the main message now, Chad.
I think we can't stress that enough for everyone listening today. At this point, inaction is not an option, right? So even if you're not planning on adopting the new rules this calendar year, this fiscal year, for the optional 2023, you've got to start implementing in 2024, right? That's going to require systems changes. That's going to require employee education. That's going to require, possibly a different relationship and working relationship with your service providers, right? You don't want to wait until you already start having some of these, adjustments, invoices, the operational transfer pricing going on to make the key decisions, right? And I would mention, as part of this assessment process, not only looking at whether adopting for 2023 makes sense, but also for preparing for 2024. We do have an offering that's fairly well developed that we've been rolling out across, our client base and new clients in Brazil and also foreign headquartered, companies, right? Looking and helping them make some of these informed decisions, helping them with the modeling, helping them with some of the high level considerations about where they stand, right? So I would like to draw attention to that. This is our Brazilian transfer pricing assessment offering. We've been doing it for a few weeks now. And I think that it'll be, getting busier and busier in the next, month or two ahead as we see more and more companies, scramble to prepare for the next few months.
Yes, I do agree with you, Shad. This is a moment that we are busy because of the 2022 busy season, delivering the income tax return, and we are already working a lot to make this assessment. So this is the moment to take your part in the line to have your transactions already analyzed by the window of September 30. So you do have to take action now.
Great. Well, that concludes our special episode for today. Davi and I very much look forward to hearing from any of you who would like additional information or maybe some assistance with the assessment that we were just mentioning. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Davi, thank you for this update. We're very much looking forward to what happens next. We'll keep you posted with everything that we talked about and the additional guidance that we expect from Receita Federal in the months ahead. Davi, anything to add?
No, I think that's it for now. Thank you one more time for your time set, and look forward to hear from the audience. Any question, any comments that you may have, we are here for you.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. We'll talk to you again soon.